Hey guys, it's been a while since I've made an update on progress and just everything vestibular related. So I figured I'd go ahead and throw a video together. In the future, I think I'm probably going to discontinue putting videos on this channel. However, I am considering coming up with a new channel, and I'm thinking about just calling it like maybe Vestibular Guy. It's best I could come up with on short notice, but if I do decide to do that, I'll go ahead and post a link to it. Or you can just search it. So yeah, update. It's 2020, so yay, we made it, guys. 2019 was a rocky year in my life. It was, slowly but surely getting through vestibular neuritis, and just slowly but surely getting used to having, a chronic type disorder. And it's been a learning experience. It's been a humbling experience. And it's also been a growing experience. So it's been a lot of things. So just to say, there's encouragement here. This is a place where it's hard to navigate in life when you're feeling like crap all the time, especially if you have a chronic disorder with vertigo or dizziness or aura or any of the things that can be so debilitating in your daily life. Just know that there's support for that, that it's okay to not be okay, and you will get through it. It's a stage of your life. It's a horrible stage, but it's also a pivotal stage because after emerging from it, you'll never look at life really the same again after dealing with such horrendous conditions personally for such a long period of time, like vestibular migraine or vestibular neuritis can cause with a person. So today I'm mainly going to actually go through VRT and exercises, also medications that are pretty helpful. So for me, I have been on Effexor for, probably since this past September in 2019. And it took about 8 weeks, but it did kick in and it did help. It brought down symptomatic feelings down a little bit to the point where I could cope more. It helped a lot. Now, granted, there's different approaches you can take to dealing with vestibular chronic disorders. You can get counseling, you can get on medication, you can do a lot of VRT. I would highly recommend you do all three. It's not an easy thing to live with a chronic condition such as vertigo or dizzy aura, cloudy feeling, vibes in your brain, feeling like there's a hand in there just going like this on a daily basis. It's not fun, and you shouldn't have to go through it alone because unlike a lot of chronic disorders out there, you get some breaks. With these types of ones, a lot of times you don't get breaks. It's just 24/7, which really sucks. So highly recommend you get help with it. Now, getting to the whole hope factor, there is hope, guys. You will slowly but surely recalibrate your brain, and especially if you're doing VRT, you will get to a point where you can live a 100% life of happiness. And I'm a firm believer of it because I'm doing it. So a few things to start to preface with to stay away from. For me now, I go through periods where I beat the 24/7 dizziness. I don't have that anymore. I now have bouts with it. I have chronic disorder of the vestibular neuritis. So basically what happened with me was my nerve got shot, like completely dead in the posterior canal. So that put me in a permanent dizzy state for a long while. I was in it for multiple months, and I was in a really dark place by the time I started showing signs of getting better. If you guys watched the first video, that was when I had just started really actually kind of feeling a little bit better, and I was feeling more like I could tackle it, and that's why I made the video. I always knew when I had it, I was going to make a video after I beat it, and I was going to tell the world, you can get through this. And the truth of the matter is you can. Things to stay away from, For me, I know what my triggers are. So for me, triggers to get into the really bad state of vertigo where it's debilitating, I can't really do a whole lot. I try to stay away from 100% alcohol, especially if you're on a medication. Do not take alcohol or drink it or anything. It will disrupt the as my psychiatrist who prescribed it to me said, he would say, just stay away from it. It's not helpful. It disrupts the vestibular system, and the effexor, in my case, the medication I'm on, stops working when it's on it, and it actually turns against you because the alcohol mixed with the effexor really disrupts your vestibular system. So if you drink alcohol with any type of vestibular issue, you're asking to feel like crap. And on top of that, if you're on a medication, you for sure will. So yeah, just stay away from it. Caffeine, I can drink caffeine. I drink coffee and I haven't had problems. I don't get dizzy from it or anything. I did for months on end, but then my body adjusted and got used to it again. I eased myself into it. I would do like 2 cups a week, then 3 cups, then 4 cups, but I'm kind of a coffee aficionado and I really like it. So I was like, okay, I need this. So, reward yourself every once in a while. Today and this week, I'm not going to lie, I do feel like crap because this past weekend was an idiot, and I told myself I would never drink alcohol again, but I didn't even drink a lot. I just had like 3 swigs just to taste it, and sure enough, that was enough to disrupt my vestibular system. So at this point, I am experimenting with vestibular neuritis and chronic disorder, trying to figure out how much I can do one thing before I really disrupt my system. I'm at that point in the whole illness, so if you haven't had this for a long time, definitely don't do that. I'm at the point where I know how to get back to feeling normal again. I know what to avoid. That's staying out of fluorescent lights. Don't deal with synthetic artificial light. It creates aura. So if you're under in the office, in my office anyway, they have fluorescent lights. If I'm in there for a day, a lot of times next day I feel pretty bad because it's just like that fake light. And so in my job, my employer's been really understanding, knowing that I have a chronic disorder, and those lights and sometimes that type of spatial environment can mess with me to the point where the next day I just feel like crap, and then I'm feeling like crap for a week after that. So they're very understanding with me, and if you can work from home, that's great with an illness like this, because you want to feel normal, or at least feel closest to normal that you can. So you want to take away those elements that disrupt that, So I don't recommend being under fluorescent lights or looking at computer screens for long periods of time. I'm in IT consulting, so for me in medical software systems, I look at computers a lot. So I do things now. Highly recommend getting blue light glasses. I just ordered a new pair, actually, expecting them in the mail this week. Sunglasses help. You don't want to feel like an idiot when I am in the office. Sometimes I thought about wearing sunglasses, but it's too much. It makes me feel like an idiot, so it's personally a little degrading to wear sunglasses in the office all the time, so I just don't do it. So a lot of times I'll try to break out my week now. I'm trying to get to the point where I can go in the office more and deal with the light and not come home and feel like crap. So it's a slow but sure, it's a slow but sure evolving, with this illness. And when I do pay attention to everything that can cause disarray in your vestibular system, I know what I can and can't do. And if I follow the book of the law of knowing what I can and can't do, I feel normal. Okay? So did you hear that? I said I feel normal. I don't feel like there's a hand in my head. I feel like I have never, had an issue ever vestibular-wise. I feel completely like, okay, cool. Now, that's if I haven't been under fluorescent lights in a while. That's if I have been doing my exercises, VRT important. That's if I stick to effexor and go minimal on the caffeine, and I don't drink a lot of it, and I don't for sure drink any alcohol. If I do all those things and I'm actually regularly exercising, like trying to go out and jog and get sunlight during the day, I feel way better. I really do. I get momentary bouts of dizziness. Like if I turn my head down, look up, I'll get like a, whoa, that was kind of weird. But that's like, I think even before I had this, I somewhat had some of that. So, know that you can get better if you have chronic neuritis. But, it just takes a while. So things I wanted to talk through today is people that have 3PD, vestibular neuritis, MDDS, migraine. Ocular vestibular issues. So that would be like visual vertigo. So a lot of times you can have visual disarray, so visual auras, things like that. The tall tale sign of that versus inner ear problem would be if you close your eyes, you feel okay. A lot of times that's more ocular. Versus if I shut my eyes, and a lot of times that makes, for me personally, worse. That means you definitely have something more central or in your peripheral system. So that would indicate more of a migraine or a posterior canal or a peripheral issue. So like vestibular neuritis, labyrinthitis, there's a lot of different issues. Meniere's can cause it. You're going to get onset with any type of vestibular issue. It's hard for doctors to diagnose it, mainly because there are a number of things causing all those issues that align to be the same symptoms, but they're different illnesses. So like for vestibular neuritis, you're going to have a lot of the same symptoms that you're going to have with, say, like vestibular migraine, or you're going to have a lot of the same symptoms of like labyrinthitis. And the only way they can really tell the difference is through like vestibular testing. So a lot of that, it's a long test you do with like an audiologist and a PT and a doctor, and they go through and they figure out if your issues are more central to the brain. So there's a central issue. That would be like migraine versus a peripheral issue, which would be a vestibular neuritis, and they can kind of tell more or less what it is. So they can definitely tell if it's labyrinthitis or neuritis based off of different tests they do, seeing which area of your vestibular system is affected. So for me, it was the left posterior canal, completely shot. And that is what quote unquote ruined my life for a long period of time until I finally fought back. For the longest time, I would watch videos and people would be like, oh, I finally got to the point where I'm feeling like 70%. And I was like, what? You're feeling only 70%? You've had this for 2 years? Come on. I mean, am I going to have to wait that long? Am I going to have this the rest of my life? You have all these questions coming, and all that does is festers insecurity and anxiety, and actually will open up the gate to other issues, which can be even scarier on top of the already issues you're experiencing. So if you have all these things, go get the CT. Most practitioners nowadays want to start out with the CT. They can rule out the whole stroke. They can rule out the tumors. They can rule out things that also kind of give these sometimes these symptoms. And then in my case, they wanted to do MRI too. So I got a CT and MRI and then a bunch of vestibular testing. And then, I just, at this point, I know the vestibular system and the brain neurology issues very well and all the different diseases you can get through them. Mainly because I've done a lot of research on them and talking to a bunch of different practitioners. That's me. I'm doing better, doing actually great. My life satisfaction, happiness level, personally, after having this for such a long time, I'm at, 100%. I'm a fighter. I'm enjoying my life. And yes, this is a debilitating disorder to have, and you can go in and out of feeling like crap and feeling better, but you're going to go through very long periods of time feeling normal and good eventually. You'll have it, and some people I've talked to have never had an issue ever again. A lot of people, actually. The more and more people reach out to me because I've made these videos, they're like, oh, dude, I remember I had this. It lasted for a year and a half. Dude, I had this. It lasted 4 years, and then it went away. And then, so it's like there's no time limit. And I've also met people that had it for like 2 months, and they were fine. My doctor actually told me the majority of people do get over it in about 3 months. So if you're younger and have a lot of plasticity, I should have been past this by now because I am younger. But, in my case, it was completely, killed the nerve. So I, was put in the category of the people that have this for a long period of time. Which, if you have more than 3 months, they put you in the 3PD category. So you have, PPPD is what they call it. And 4 out of 5 people will get better from 3PD. The people that don't get better from 3PD, a lot of times have some other issues going on, medical issues. So a lot of times that would be something like diabetes. It would be some other medical issues, and also psychological issues can be a big factor in that. to play into why they're not getting better is what I've been told by practitioners. Because I was also like, am I ever going to get better? What if I'm that fifth person? And they were like, well, if you're not that person, if you are that person, you got some other things going on that we're going to have to work through. Because your system isn't reacting right. You know, a lot of people with cancer that go through treatment will get vertigo because chemo and some other medications can wipe out the vestibular system in the process of fighting it. So a lot of times, you know, you beat the cancer, but then now you have this vestibular issue. So, you know, there's different things that can cause your vestibular system to go out of whack is my overall point here. And there's not one rhyme or main reason why it happens to you. Another big factor can be the chickenpox virus. So that's a form of herpes. It's not the sexually transmitted kind. It's another kind, but it can go dormant in your body for a long period of time and then come back alive, manifesting itself in different ways. In my case, I did have it when I was younger. I had chickenpox. And like I had an episode of like a type of shingles. It was herpes based, but they said it was brought on by like stress and some other things. At the time, I was only 8 years old though, actually 9, and it completely messed up my face. I was deformed up here because of the attack, and it took out my nerve endings all across here. So I was already laying the ground for having maybe a vestibular issue down the road, and I just didn't know it at the time. Granted, it came back to me like almost 20 years later, but here I am. And a buddy of mine, he's a surgeon, he was like, you know, I'm telling you, man, I really think that the chickenpox virus, that herpes, came back alive and it attacked your vestibular system. He was like, a lot of times it can come back alive from stress. And at the time, I'd lost some family members. Work was really stressful when I had gotten all this. So he said, I think that could have been a real cause of it. So he thinks that, and then I had another friend who also said that, you know, there could be, he's also a doctor, and he said, you know, it just kind of depends. There's a lot of things that can go into it. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different things that can cause vestibular issues is the bottom line. So that's my pout on that. Yeah, VRT, let's do it. So I have a bunch of different things I have from the Mayo Clinic right here. There's routine vestibular patient classifications versus chronic classification. And it also has age groups. So I'm in the rare category of being a young guy. Usually the vestibular issues statistically affect women more than men. I am in the minority of men, especially younger men, to have a vestibular issue. So lucky me, I always have gotten rare illnesses. So I guess I'm still in the spirit of that by getting this. It's funny enough, not as rare as people think, though. A lot of people have vestibular neuritis or had it, and they just didn't know that's what it was. But yeah, anyway. So let's start with medications. And this is from the Mayo Clinic. I don't know if you can see this. Maybe not. And I guess it's the other way around. So would it help this way? No. Anyway, so the top medications given for vestibular issues, and it's dependent upon the type. So like migraine, they're going to give you Effexor. Neuritis, they're going to give you probably more Cymbalta. Problem with Cymbalta is a lot of times it causes more nausea than Effexor at onset when you first start taking the medication. So if you are going to take Cymbalta for neuritis, just know that if you feel a little nauseous for your first 2 weeks, or you feel pretty nauseous, that's pretty normal. So, you know, deal with it, get through it. You're already feeling like crap. You might as well bring on more crap, right? So just check out mentally for 2 weeks and see if you feel better after it. A lot of people hold back on doing this type of stuff because they're scared they're going to make themselves feel worse. And in all honesty, you probably are going to have to feel this way before you get better. To some level, I feel like medication, it's hard to get over all of this without doing medication. You can do it. It might last longer if you do it that way. Medication can ease your mind to get to the point, and it can settle down all the systems firing internally in your brain to the point where they aren't firing so much, especially if a neuritis is trying to fire down a dead nerve and it's just not working. So you're getting this, you know, result of dizziness and internal vertigo that's driving you up the wall. So, you know, it's your own life. You can make your own decisions, but that's just my 2 cents on it. And also, let me preface any advice I give. I'm not a doctor, so don't take it, verbatim of what a medical practitioner would say. I'm just going off of all the experiences I've had and the materials I've received. So yeah, moving on, I digress. You have Prozac. So initial therapy daily dose for Prozac is 5 to 10 milligrams. They start you on 5 to 10 milligrams. And then 2 weeks later, they move up your daily dosage to 10 to 20 milligrams. That's if you're going good on the 5 to 10. And then 4 to 6 weeks into it, they move you 20 to 40 milligrams. And then the therapeutic range, so in other words, when it really starts actually working, is about at the 8-week mark later, they move up you to 20 to 60. So yeah, that's Prozac. Not one medication necessarily works better than the next. A lot of times it's just on your body and what your genetic makeup is. There is a test you can do now to find out which medication would work for your type of genealogy and your body type and who you are and all that. It's about $200. You can do the test. If you don't want to risk feeling like crap at the beginning of this, maybe go to a psychiatrist and say, hey, I want to get this test to figure out which one works best for my body, and they can do that. I lucked out because I tried Effexor, and I only felt like crap for the first 5 days, and then I was okay. So, yeah. Next is Zoloft. The therapeutic dose range of Zoloft, so when it starts working, it's about 4 to 6 weeks in, and it's 50 to 150 milligrams. Next one is Paxil. It's Paxil. And its therapeutic dosage range is 20 to 60 milligrams after about, 6 to 8 weeks. And then next one is Celexa, which is just a better version, or newer version, I should say, of Effexor. And that is 20 to 40 milligrams before it starts working. Honestly, they're probably going to hit you more than that if you're still experiencing dizziness. And then Lexapro is 10 to 20 milligrams therapeutic range for this. And then Lavex is 50 to 100 BID. And that's after, 4 to 6 weeks to about 8 when it starts working is when we'll actually put you on that dosage level. And they don't actually have mine on there, which is Effexor. And honestly, out of the poll I've done of looking at people on websites that have had this type of disorder a lot, it seems like Effexor might be the best working one that I've seen personally. Not to say that one's better than the other, just kind of depends. I've just seen quite a few people have luck with Effexor. I have also seen people gotten really sick from Effexor, so, just kind of depends. Moving on, the initial therapy can be the higher dose for most patients. However, for those who do not tolerate that dose, those who prefer to start more casually on a lower dose are prescribed that. So yeah, it looks like they basically want to start you low and then move you high. Nobody wants to jump into the deep end with this stuff. So for 3PD treatment, that's what all of this is for. So a lot of times doctors will just say you have 3PD if you're coming in, you've been dizzy for a while. And that's after, of course, they try to diagnose you with PPPD because, let's be honest, every doctor hopes that it's that and they don't have to figure out what it really could be, like neuritis or migraine or, so on and so forth, because that's harder to diagnose. But fun fact, only 30% of vestibular issue cases or dizzy cases are BPPV, and the rest are all other issues. So, yeah. Next thing I'm going to do is VRT. VRT is vestibular rehabilitation therapy. And that's what you're going to go to a PT that specializes in the vestibular system and an audiologist, and they're going to work with you to build up your immunity, so to speak, to the dizziness and what's already not working to compensate. So essentially, there's a traffic jam on the highway and you can't get through it, and that's the dead nerve in my case. And so I have to build an off-ramp to get around it to still maintain circulation of, that system and working. So it takes time, and it's not an easy process, but you will get there. So what you're going to want to do with these guys, and there's different ones. They start you out on this one, yeah, like that, and then they move you up to this one. Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna put it on like the wall. Say I put it like right there on the wall. Anyway, after I put it on the wall, what I'm gonna do, and I'll just do it from here. You can like start doing this. Try to do it 40 seconds at first, and get a tempo counter, so like a metronome, and try to get to doing it 90 beats per minute. And then, because a regular person can do this 120 beats and feel normal. So start at 90, work your way up, and try to get to the point on beat where you can do it for a minute like this, and look at each one. So O, F, G, H, A, R, P, W, and then keep going like that, up and down for about a minute. And then after you do that, wait a minute, and then come back to it. And instead of going vertically, now go horizontally. So W, P, R, A, H, G, F, O, and do that for another minute. Do about 2 sets in a sitting, or 2 to 3, and then do that 3 times a day if you can. So that's going to be more therapeutic levels. Once you do that and you master that bad boy, you can move up to this. And what you're going to do is you're going to read every single letter. So it would be like O, Y, E, F, and you're going to go down across, and then you can mix and match, you know, go down vertically, go across, just do that. And then what you can also do is if I had it like right there, say it was right there, I could start going like this, and then back and forth, walking. I can step side to side while looking at it by not, you know, moving my eyes other than the individual letters, calling them out like this. And then keep doing that, keep walking back and forth. Only do one at a time, so like the vertical, that's 1 set. Do that for a minute, and then do it again, only up and down, that's horizontal, so that's another set. And then do each one of those twice, 2 sets of each. So yeah, that's that. That's probably the base, that's what they call the baseline of VRT. That exercise I just showed you, that's like the most important one that you can do. Other ones to do for VRT is, of course, the soccer ball. I've shown this before in videos where you put letters on it, and then what you're going to end up doing with it is you would be like, you know, 1, and then you call out that letter. Call out that letter. Call out that letter. Call out that letter. And then you would just do the same thing this way. Call out that letter. Call out that letter. Call out that letter. And then after that, what you can do is set up cones in the room. I don't have any, but you'll look at a point on the wall, and then you'll walk around the cones like this while you're still looking at it, and you're trying to maintain your balance, and then going backwards around the cones, and then so on and so forth. If you have a treadmill, this is more advanced stuff, but you can put one of these on the treadmill and start doing this while you're walking on the treadmill. I also highly recommend crossword puzzles while you're on the treadmill or you're walking around. So what my therapist would make me do is a crossword puzzle while I'm walking around. So I would look around, and as I'm walking around, my vestibular system is being exposed to a lot of environmental differences by moving, while I'm also trying to solve a problem. This is more for brain fog mixed with vertigo, challenging your brain to process and think while you're actually moving, which makes your plasticity more therapeutic and helping to compensate for that decomposition that you already have in your system. So yeah, those are some good ones, crosswords, puzzles. Another good one would be like take your crossword puzzle and then put this on the wall and look between them. So like standing from afar, you have this up on the wall, and then I call out N, O, and I'm going up and down or across. So in this case, up and down, O, N, Y, B, E, U, R, A, and then so on and so forth. That's another really good one. Another one is to take a weird background on the table. So try to find something that has like checkered print. It could be a blanket, it could be a tabletop, something with a dynamic background surface. And then to take a deck of cards, whole entire deck on the background. So it could be a bunch of diamonds on the background. It could be a tablecloth with really weird dimensions. You could do it on top of a puzzle. It's just the background has to be challenging to look at because there's a lot of stuff going on, a noisy environment background. Then you take your deck of cards and you literally sort each suit. So like I find all of the hearts in here, and I'm starting to classify each one. So I'm putting them in categories, put all my hearts over here, put all my clubs right here, put my spades right here, and you're going through the deck doing this. That's going to challenge your brain, and that's a really good one to do. So you can mix and match between all of these. Another really good one is to do this is for people more with like vestibular neuritis, or also I guess migraine could do this too. This is going to be, you're shutting your eyes, and you just literally put one foot in front of the other, like this. And this is even hard for me to do today. But you want to balance for about a minute, and then you just hold it right here. And if you want to get more cool with it and more like advanced, you can stand on something that's wobbly, like a pillow, and you can just practice this. Or you can do this, and then you switch sides. And you want to do this you want to mix this in with your other sets of doing the others. So like, do the gaze, so horizontal once, and then do this for a minute, and then go back and then do the vertical, and then do this again for a minute. And once you get good at this, what you'll end up doing is you can start going up and down with your eyes shut, walking in a very safe environment. Don't do this if you're too dizzy, but you can start shutting your eyes and doing that. Now, that's slowly you want to get to that point. The first thing you can do is stop right here and start going like this with your eyes shut. This is really going to mess with you. At least it does with me. And then you start doing this. And try to do it for 30 seconds to a minute on each one. And slowly over time, you're going to get used to it, and you're developing compensation. So, yeah. Those are pretty good ones. The last one I'll do is this one. This is more for ocular. What you can do is look afar, look close and then afar, my little guy right here. So I look at his face right here, then I look at another point in the wall, then I go back to him, then I go back there, and I just keep doing this for like a minute. Or you can do this, try to focus on him until he turns 2, and then go back. That just helps with ocular motion and just practicing of focusing and getting back. That can also help compensate. Things to look for also eating wise. You can try the headache diet. I've heard it works for a lot of people. I don't really do a lot of that. It depends. If you have vestibular migraine, a lot of people take magnesium. They say it helps. For vestibular neuritis, the only thing clinically shown to improve getting over it quicker is ginkgo biloba. I'm butchering how you say it. I've never been able to say it exactly right because I always forget. But that, you can talk to your doctor about maybe putting that in the diet. You can get it in pill form. So between those two, anything you do, consult your doctor first, get their opinion, make sure that the supplements can, also go with any type of other medications you're on before you take it. But yeah, those are just ideas, There is a watch that I personally, haven't seen a lot of help from it, but people that are more early onset will take help with this. There's like a watch that you can wear that shoots signals. So it shoots a shock up your arm into your brain. So your brainstem, and it helps with the nausea and the kind of like the spins. And sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. I have one. It's hit and miss. It does hurt. At least I think it hurts. I do wear it from time to time, but you can look into it. Overall, what I say, it's worth the investment. It depends on the body type. I can't say that it really works 100%, but it maybe helps a little bit. People have different luck with it. You can look at it. Pilots wear it to keep them from getting motion sickness when they're flying around. But yeah, it's just another option to throw into the whole recipe of getting better. I wouldn't recommend it long term. So, if you're earlier on in it, you can maybe try it. Things to avoid: get off Dramamine or get off any of the motion sickness drugs. While those are helpful in the beginning, long term, they kill your VRT process of getting better. And a lot of times they don't even help in the beginning, so just avoid them. Stay away from the whole motion sickness drugs like meclizine or any of those. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's my update. Stay strong. I wish you good mental health. You're gonna get through this. You'll have your good days, you'll have your bad days, but over the course of time, you will fully get better from this and emerge from the abyss that is vestibular issues. So that's all I got. This was a long video, but I hadn't done an update in a while. I hope you guys feel better, and yeah, thanks.